I've been working as a freelance wildlife photographer for over a decade now. Most of my jobs take me far away from people, deep into places where human presence feels like a mistake. I've always preferred it that way. Silence, isolation, the sense that you're the only one out there, it used to be peaceful. This happened about 3 winters ago. I had been hired to capture a series of images of a remote forest region up north, the kind of place where the trees grow so thick they block out most of the daylight even at noon. It took me nearly 5 hours of hiking just to reach the area where I planned to camp. No signal, no trails beyond a certain point, just miles of untouched land. I set up my tent near a frozen stream. It was quiet, too quiet, but I didn't think much of it at the time. That first evening went smoothly. I got a few decent shots before the sun dipped behind the trees, and then I settled in for the night. Sometime after midnight, I woke up. At first, I didn't know why. It wasn't a loud noise or anything obvious, just something felt off. I lay there in my sleeping bag, staring at the thin fabric of the tent ceiling, listening. The forest was silent, but not the normal kind of silence. It felt heavy, like something was pressing down on the air itself. Then I heard it, a single crunch in the snow outside. I froze. Another step followed a few seconds later, slow, careful, like whoever or whatever was out there didn't want to be heard. My first thought was an animal, maybe a deer or something larger, but animals don't move like that. There was a rhythm to it, uneven but deliberate. I held my breath, hoping it would pass. Instead, it got closer. The footsteps circled around my tent, each one slow and measured. I could hear the faint crunch of snow with every step. It wasn't pacing randomly either. It was walking around me, like it was checking something, checking me. I didn't move. I didn't even dare reach for my flashlight. I just lay there, completely still, listening as it made a full circle around my tent. Then it stopped, right outside the entrance. I could hear breathing now, shallow, raspy, like someone struggling to pull air into their lungs. It was so close that I could almost feel it through the fabric. I thought about calling out, asking who was there, but something deep in my gut told me not to. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to stay quiet. The breathing lingered for what felt like forever. Then, without warning, it moved again. The footsteps continued, drifting away slowly until they faded into the forest. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. As soon as the first light came through the trees, I got out of the tent. The cold hit me immediately, but I barely noticed. I was focused on the ground. There were footprints all around my camp. Human footprints. They circled my tent multiple times, overlapping in places. But what really got to me was the depth of them. Whoever made those tracks had been standing still for long periods, long enough to sink deep into the snow. And then I noticed something else. There were no tracks leading into the area. I followed the prints outward, expecting to find where they came from, but they just started. A few feet from my tent, the snow was untouched in every direction except for the circle around me. It didn't make sense. I packed up quickly, telling myself I was overreacting. Maybe the snow had covered older tracks. Maybe I just hadn't noticed. I tried to come up with explanations that sounded reasonable, but none of them felt right. Still, I had a job to do. I spent the next few hours moving deeper into the forest, taking photos, trying to focus on work. But the feeling never left. that constant sense that I wasn't alone anymore. Around midday, I found something that made me stop dead in my tracks. A camera. It was old, half buried in the snow near a cluster of trees. Not mine. Definitely not mine. It looked like it had been out there for a long time, covered in frost and dirt. I picked it up. The battery was dead, but I don't know why I decided to take it with me. Something about it felt important, like I wasn't supposed to leave it behind. That was another mistake. By late afternoon, the lights started fading again, and I made my way back toward my camp. The forest felt different now, darker, tighter, like the trees themselves were closing in. That's when I heard the footsteps again, behind me. I turned around immediately, heart pounding, but there was nothing there, just trees and shadows stretching across the snow. Then another step, closer this time. I didn't wait. I started moving faster, ignoring the burning in my legs, the uneven ground beneath my feet. The footsteps matched my pace, staying just out of sight, always behind me. I could hear that breathing again too, that same raspy, uneven sound. I broke into a run. Branches snapped under my feet as I pushed forward, not even caring about direction anymore. I just needed to get back to camp, back to something familiar. When I finally reached the clearing, I stopped. My tent was still there, but something was wrong. The zipper was open. I was sure I had closed it that morning. I always double-check things like that. I approached slowly, every step feeling heavier than the last. The forest behind me was silent again, but I knew it was still there, watching. I reached the tent and pulled the flap open. Everything inside had been moved. My bag was unzipped, my gear scattered like someone had gone through it carefully. Not in a rushed way, but like they were searching for something specific. And then I saw it. The camera I had found earlier, it was sitting in the center of my sleeping bag. I hadn't put it there. My hands started shaking as I picked it up. The lens was cracked now, and there was something smeared across it. Dark, frozen. I don't know why, but I pressed the power button. For a second, nothing happened. Then the screen flickered to life. There were photos on it. Dozens of them. All taken at night. All of my tent. From different angles, different distances. Some from the tree line, some right outside the entrance. And the last photo, it was taken from inside the tent. I didn't look any longer than that. I grabbed my things and left everything else behind. I didn't care about the job, the money, any of it. I just needed to get out. I didn't stop moving until I reached the edge of the forest hours later, long after dark had set in. I never went back for my equipment. I reported it, of course, told them everything, but nothing ever came of it. No missing persons reports, no explanation for the camera, nothing. I still do photography, but I don't take jobs like that anymore. And I never, ever camp alone.